Okay, when you're ready.
Basically, our specific group was CHD, otherwise known as coronary heart disease. Basically, CHD is the term that describes the failure of blood supply in the heart, where it gets blocked up by fatty substances in the coronary arteries. According to the NHS, the death rate since 1996 has decreased by 47% in Europe, but still 2.6 million people in the UK have it, and 96,000 people a year die from it. Symptoms can cause angina, chest pains, become lightheaded, breathlessness, and get nausea. Having CHD can cause heart attacks, strokes, and at older ages, women are more likely to die from CHD more than men, and it can cause high blood pressure and cholesterol. Benefits of exercise. The NHS recommends that they become more physically active. People who have CHD or are trying to prevent it should take part in activities such as cycling, walking, swimming, and even dancing. Local communities around the country provide free swimming lessons for 60 plus, and they provide free swimming lessons for people at the age of 16 and above to prevent it. Person having a heart attack is a big factor you have to consider and take into consideration when doing a training program. They have to take into consideration as well that they become very fatigued and they get very breathless very quickly, which means they'll have to take part in lower intensive exercise. And the American Heart Foundation recommends that for CV training they do it 3 times a week with a moderate intensity, enough to make them feel warm, but not so extreme enough to make them get breathless quickly. They recommend that they do it 30 minutes and do exercises such as walking, bicycle, and swimming.
Okay, brilliant, thank you. Any questions? What do they have any recommendations on resistance exercise?
We couldn't really find one.
You couldn't think?
They recommended something like, I think it was 2 times a week at the same sort of intensity, with like very, very, very light weights.
Okay, good. All right, thank you. All right, second group.
What we was doing diabetes. I got my information from diabetes.org.uk. Diabetes is where sugar levels are either high or low. The summary condition is that there is 2.8 million people diagnosed with diabetes in the UK, and an estimate of 850,000 people who have conditions, who have the condition but don't know they have it. The symptoms are first, passing water through frequently, especially at night, tiredness and fatigue, loss of weight, cramps, constipation, blurry vision, recurrent skin infection, and genital itching. The risk of having this condition, you would end up having mental health problems, you would have high blood pressure. There is also a risk of having heart attack or a stroke. The benefits of exercise when having this condition and having this specific condition, when doing exercise, the body uses a lot of uses more oxygen, making the lungs and the heart stronger, which helps the body to lower the blood pressure and put the blood sugar to use.
The considerations you should look out for when you're doing training is that they will naturally have high blood pressure, sugar levels will be low, and so will plasma levels and glucose levels. Like this will cause them to have low energy levels, as I said. Recommendations for resistance training, they would have to train around 2 times a week, intensity to about 50 to 60% for an hour per session, focusing on all type of muscle groups. They can use weights and machines if they have any. Recommendations for flexibility would be training 5 to 7 times a week, so practically the whole week. Intensity at 0. time per stretch would be about 8 to 10 seconds, and to stretch all major muscle groups. And cardiovascular system, frequency would be 3 to 5 times per week, intensity at 50 to 60%, time for 1 hour. You can use bicycles, treadmills, and you do continuous training.
Okay. Sorry, just a quick question. You mentioned 50 to 60%. I wasn't quite sure what you meant by that. So
For resistance training?
For CV training.
Cardiovascular. Basically, how tired they would feel as they're...
So, but 50 to 60% of what?
Of their heart rate.
Of their heart rate.
Max heart rate.
Maximum heart rate. Okay. All right. Thank you. Yeah. Yeah.
We done osteoporosis. The definition of the condition is that the bones are weak and they're risk of fracture. Also, they've got a reduced bone minimal density in it, so the bones are like fragile and weak. 3 million people in the UK are thought to have the illness, and there are over 230,000 fractures every year as a result of the disease. It develops over the years. It is likely that there will be like no warning signs or symptoms until like someone breaks a bone. And one of the main places where somebody gets a fracture is usually in their spine, so quite bad. The risk of the condition is that if you do get a spinal fracture, you could like end up in a wheelchair like for the rest of your life. And also, again, like the bones are very fragile and weak, so they break easily. Also, coughing and sneezing, like hard, could cause you like breaking your ribs as well. Benefits of the exercise that you increase strength in your bones, bone minimal density will increase. You have less chance of falling down, less pains, and also improved balance for not falling down. Like training considerations would be that you have to be careful in case they do break a bone while exercising, like if they do exercise. Also, like not to put a lot of pressure on bones, especially at the spine, because they do put a lot of pressure on the spine, it could break and end up in a wheelchair again. Recommendations would be to like work at 2 to 3 days a week at very low impact exercise and low intensity, because you don't want to cause any like breaks. Not a lot of time, like 30 minutes, and also you'll do like cardiovascular work and like resistance training at low intensity and a minimal impact.
Okay, brilliant. Sorry, just a question to Oscar. I didn't quite get the definition of what osteoporosis was. I was wondering if you could explain it to me, what it meant.
The bones are very easy to break.
Sorry?
High risk of breaking the bone.
High risk of breaking the bones. So, what is that? So, I don't understand. So, what's wrong with the bones?
They have low mineral density.
Okay, good. Thank you, Isdeen. Okay.